Back. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. Today is Monday, February 1st, blustery February 1st. And this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the town council. All members are present. Town manager, town attorney, town clerk. Stand for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community. We ask you to guide those who, as our government leaders, make their daily decisions that affect us, so that their efforts shall be motivated by this same great rule of charity and goodwill. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the final agenda. A motion to approve the agenda.
Moved.
Moved, second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Next comment, as always, is public comment.
First person I have is Carol Tadeo.
How do you do? Tomato, tomato.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I'm here
Oh,
because,
you can take it off right there.
oh, I can?
Right there you can, yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody could hear. Okay, good morning, thank you for listening to me. I'm here because of the Big Carlos Bridge project and the meeting that took place on Thursday, the 28th. I did not attend in person, but I know Ray was there and some of the other members were. I did do it virtually on the webinar app, which was very interesting. I found that meeting so frustrating. All it did was present a list of things that they read to us that we could have read ourselves. And then people made comments, but there were no answers. And there are so many questions regarding this. I don't understand what's true and what's not true. First of all, the one big thing was the money issue. Is that a true statement or a false statement? Does the council know the answer to that? And the other thing is, I saw what happened. Bonita Beach Council was very vocal, and I was wondering if we have not been more vocal in this issue. I know when Mr. Kiker was alive, he was against the bridge being built. I live at Island's End, so this is a great impact to me. And I know Ray is very interested in the fishermen, but I watched Sunday as so many families were on the Lovers Key side on the beach. And I feel this is all going to be disturbed and not available to them with this large bridge. I don't understand how the commissioners could vote for something when there are so many people on Fort Myers Beach and in Bonita that are so against this proposal. I guess that's all I have to say. If anybody could give answers, I would appreciate it.
We're going to talk about it later in the meeting, Carol.
All right.
It's near the end, though, if you're going to hang in there.
Okay,
Before
thank
we
you
go.
very much.
Thank you. Next.
Duchesne.
Morning.
Morning.
I also live at Island's End, and I echo everything that Carol had to say. I talked to Ray at the meeting last Thursday night. If I showing up here today, we might be able to do a little progress. We don't understand, they keep saying there's another option in play, which is repairing the existing bridge, but every time they talk about the project, all they talk about is when we build the new bridge. Don't want the new bridge, and I can't find anybody that does. So I don't understand why it's being pushed down our throats. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Tom.
That's all I have signed up.
That's it? Okay. No one else called in or wrote in or a smoke signal or anything? Okay. Next item is local achievements. Start down here with Dan.
I have nothing this week.
Nothing.
Nothing for the vice mayor. Jim?
Just wanted to mention briefly, as we kind of track this clean water issue, the governor last week announced his budget, and I'll just read from the news press. Even with the latest spending pressures, the Republican governor Thursday said He wants the third installment of his 4-year, $2.5 billion for water quality and Everglades restoration. He's recommending $625 million in the blueprint released Thursday. DeSantis also unveiled the new Resilient Florida program that would provide $1 billion over 4 years in grants to state and local governments for projects easing the impact of sea level rise, flooding, and intense program. The last piece dovetails nicely, Mr. Mayor, on the resiliency compact that we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
But the first part, again, is just great funding request. As people know the process, governor proposes, the legislature disposes. So we have a huge step ahead of us with the legislature having a wide variety of priorities, given these tough fiscal times. But I worked with Roger and Jennifer and Amy last week a little bit on the beginning of this campaign by the town of Fort Myers Beach to advocate for clean water, and obviously supporting full funding for the Everglades restoration program and this reservoir. And this $625 million will likely be part of that. We're in the preliminary stages of putting some language together. That'll be vetted before the full council, make sure everybody's comfortable with the messaging. And I just commend the folks in Tallahassee thus far for supporting full funding for clean water. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to the people on the ground who are working to administer these vaccines. I know it was a chaotic start. They're dialing in a little more. I understand this frustration because supply is not going to meet demand for some time, but the people on the ground, I just appreciate the effort they're doing.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything to add. Next item is advisory committee items and reports. Anything? No? Okay. Next item is approval of minutes. We've got 5 sets of minutes. We can do them all in one swipe, or we can do them individually, whatever the pleasure of the council is.
Got a couple of
Minor corrections. I saw a couple of minor ones too. All right, go ahead with yours.
on the BORCAB, the joint BORCAB meeting, on page 3, I think I said it cost half again as much as is stated in the minutes.
Okay.
Are we doing one at a time? You want me to go through them all?
You might as well go through them all and then we can.
Okay, on the joint session, part D, I think the Chair Grogan said that lights were like a $120 a piece. So 100 lights would be around $1,000.
Okay.
And then in the M&P, the end of A, we were talking about purchasing bells and lights for bicycles. I think it was purchasing bells and lights for bicycles for resale.
Okay.
Denville?
Okay.
Okay. I have page 10 of the packet, which is page 4 of the January 11th. A little more than halfway down, I'd like to delete the sentence that says the vice mayor suggested that someone motioned to ban selling fireworks. I don't remember ever saying anything like that. And what I did say is included in the next paragraph. And on the next page 5, toward the bottom, when I move to place the public's ordinance back on, I think it should say after a recess because it doesn't make any sense the way it is. So after a recess, Vice Mayor moved to place public's proposed ordinance back on the table.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm done.
I had one more on that page also, page 4. When it got down to the public comment, they said public's comment. So that's minor, but it would have been public instead of public's. Let's see. Guess that's it. And do you have anything else?
It's already been covered.
Is there a motion to approve all 5 sets of minutes as amended?
I'll move to approve the minutes as amended, all 5 sets.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. The next item is the consent agenda. There are 2 items there. One is an appointment to fill a vacancy on the BORCAB committee, and the other one is the Southwest Florida Resiliency Compact that Councilman Adderholt just referenced. Does anyone wish to discuss either one of these items?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second? Moving second. Is the member here? You want to stand up for a minute and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Becky Guidry.
Down,
Oh,
Becky.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm Becky Guidry. Basically, the reason I wanted to be on Board Cab is we have 2 small kids and we live here full time and we love it here and we plan to stay here indefinitely. So I just wanted to help be a voice for those of us that do have small kids on the island.
No, I want to thank you, Becky, for volunteering. It's good to have a young parent on there that has children in the process.
There's not a lot of us on the island, but we're definitely here, so
Now,
good group.
I went through the same myself, so I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Is your husband a Cajun with that name,
We
Guidry?
are, yeah, Guidry.
Dogs are Boudreaux and Thibodeau.
Are they really?
Yeah. Anyhow, all right, well, listen, thank you very much, and we look forward to having you on the committee. and
I
working.
appreciate it.
You betcha. Any further comments? And the Resiliency Compact, this is to authorize voluntary no-cost participation in the proposed Southwest Florida Resiliency Compact. Okay, it's been moved second. Any further discussion? Any objection? The consent agenda passes unanimously. The next item is the administrative agenda. Item A is Resolution 21-02, the Harbor Management Plan. This is to approve Resolution 21-02, which updates the town's harbor management plan. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve. I can tell you the AAC committee went over this to fine tooth comb. We
Very
got it.
good. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Objection? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. The resolution passes. Item B, Resolution 21-04, Florida Boating Improvement Plan. To approve Resolution 21-04, Florida Boating Improvement Program. Adoption of a resolution from the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach authorizing the town manager or the town manager's designee to apply for and administer a grant from the Florida Boating Improvement Program for funds in the amount up to $200,000 for the appropriate 19 mooring ball field expansion. Authorizing the town manager or designee to execute related documents, providing an effective date. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve resolution 21-04.
Moved,
Second.
moved and seconded. Discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Next item C, RFQ-20-26-PW, CEI intersection improvements. This is to approve a contract with AECOM Technical Services, Inc. for construction inspection services, CEI intersection improvements in the amount of $75,572.82, and authorize the town manager to execute contract documents upon FDOT contract approval. Is there a motion to approve the request?
I'll move.
Contract? It's been moved. Is there a second? Second it. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is D, InvestNet Retirement Solutions, ERS, pension plan. This is approval of the acquisition of the town's pension plan from Mass Mutual to InvestNet Retirement Solutions, ERS. Is there a motion to approve the acquisition of the town's pension plan?
I'll move.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Discussion?
I just had a question about the last page. I wondered what this letter had to do with the movement of the retirement plan. It's a letter from the Director of Finance to the vendors of the town of Fort Myers Beach.
It got put in there inadvertently.
Okay. I was glad to see it, but I didn't think that it was related, so I was just checking if it was something I didn't understand. Okay,
Oh, is this just like, to match some kind of corporate restructuring within? Mass Mutual?
My understanding is Mass Mutual is getting out of this aspect of the business and we sold this aspect of the business, their business to another investment house. The The employees are allowed to individually select the funds primarily that they invest into. We have a local advisor who meets with them periodically to offer them a review and advice on their portfolio. And it really won't change anything other than really the name on the letterhead for all intents and purposes. I mean, some of the funds might not be available, but usually there are others that mirror the ones that are not available.
This is a defined contribution plan. So,
It's the employees' defined contribution.
and so there's really not, it's not like you're really dependent on the financial strength of InvestNet compared to Mass Mutual.
Right, they're just the administrators.
Any other discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the deferred compensation plan. This is the approval of the acquisition of the town's deferred compensation plan from Mass Mutual InvestNet Retirement Solutions, ERS. This is the other piece of this. Is there a motion to approve the acquisition of the town's deferred compensation plan?
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Was this the kind of benefit part of this?
This is the portion, the voluntary portion beyond the 10% that the town contributes on behalf of the employees. If you wanted to set aside more of your own money for your future retirement, that's the 457 part of it.
Just for public consumption, Roger, could you discuss the plan a little bit? So the town matches or actually puts in 10%?
For our older employees, we put in a 10%. For our employees since about 2017, it's a match of up to, they put in 5 and we put in 5.
Is that connected to the state plan or is that its own?
No, it's separate, it's a separate, we're not part of the state plan. Part of FRS,
Thank you.
our retirement system.
Other questions? Any other discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is F, Nuisance Abatement Board. This is, we're going to discuss the next step in the implementation of the Nuisance Abatement Board. Your attorney, is this your item or?
I'll start, Mr. Mayor, if that's
Okay,
okay with
that's fine.
everybody. We provided to members of council a list of all the persons who applied through the town clerk for available seat on the nuisance abatement board. For consideration, I guess part of your deliberation today would be whether that's an adequate slate of people in terms of numbers, not in terms of the individuals, or whether you'd like to see some more applicants since I believe the number is right at or about the number of seats that we have. So that's the initial question at hand. And of course, if you feel that the slate of applicants is adequate at this point, then you can discuss the next steps.
I guess my question would be, has everybody got a person on here? Because the ordinance requires that we each select somebody. I will say for the record that Jan Fleming is the person that I asked to apply to be my appointment.
I don't have anyone on here. I didn't ask anybody to apply.
I don't think we can go forward.
My interpretation is that it's not that you have to, everybody gets one selection. Not necessarily somebody who had to ask to apply, but any application. It's one that you could select without being a majority vote.
John?
I'm pulling up the ordinance right now, but the issue the preliminary issue that I raised when I was made aware is that obviously with regard to Ms. Plummer, that she's already on one of our existing boards. And as a result, it's under the state statute and under the Florida Constitution, the cases interpret that other board is a decision-making body, much like the nuisance abatement board will be, and therefore it raises the issue of dual office holding. And the case law says that to the extent that she is appointed to the nuisance abatement board, that automatically works as her resignation from the LPA. So a decision will have to be made as to which board she wishes to be on, as well as anyone else who falls within that fact pattern. My understanding is that there's, according to staff, there's one other individual that also is on another town board. But from what I understand, it's advisory in nature and doesn't have substantive powers, and therefore wouldn't fall under that office holding provision. As far as the process is, my recollection, and I'm pulling up the statute or our ordinances as we speak, is that each one of you has an appointment, and then the other two members are appointed by consensus of the board or the council, and then at least one. Then the council would also, of those 7, select the chair, who must be an attorney. My understanding is that there are 2 applicants who would meet that criteria.
That really doesn't answer my question, John.
I thought.
Because what I was indicating was I'd asked Jan to apply. She's the person who's going to be my appointment. Bill is indicating that he doesn't think that's necessary. He can just pick someone. If I don't want to be misquoting you, Bill,
Yeah,
but he
well-
can just pick one of the applicants to be his person,
Yeah.
appointee.
How does it read?
I-
How does it read?
It would seem to me that people should, maybe someone wouldn't want to be Bill's appointment. You know how politics is. So
And I think
it would seem
appointing
that
the-
you would need to have their permission before you would appoint them.
applying, I assume they gave. I don't know if I really care why they're on the board. And I'll tell you, I did have some conversations with somebody and asked them to put someone forward to be on the board, because I didn't want them on the outside looking in, and they have had nobody apply. Said they would, but they haven't.
I think from the list of people that are here, it's a good diverse group of people. I reached out to Trey Gillette. That it was important to have someone that owns a business on the island involved. So he was the one that I reached out to. Get to hear what John has to say about requirements or non-requirements.
Well, we can just say a couple of things. Number one, we have a really fine list of people from our community who have expressed interest and taken the time to apply. And I'm really pleased with the folks that have applied, and I think we've got a great group. So if I'm understanding the vice mayor, and depending upon our town attorney's interpretation of this, if one member chooses not to list someone to serve, they can thwart the whole nuisance abatement board process. I think that's your question. Is that fair?
Well, I didn't intend it in that way. But my intent was that we needed to determine who the 5 are that we have selected, so we know who the 2 extra are that we are voting on. Because my selection, my understanding is you guys don't get to vote. I picked Jan Fleming, she's my appointment. But we only vote on the 2 extras.
I think that's fair. And I asked Don Thomas to apply. And so that would be my selection. And I know a couple of these other people who purposely applied because they wanted to be available should a member of the council not have found someone, because they felt so strongly about allowing this to proceed forward. So I think the vice mayor's question to the town attorney is so important.
It says, the town council shall appoint a 7-member nuisance abatement board. Each council member shall appoint 1 member. Each one of you gets to pick of the ones who have applied, one who you wish or you've asked to apply. And then after that, 2 members shall be appointed at large collectively by the town council. It is as the vice mayor has indicated. Each one of you appoints an individual for a total of 5, and then of the remaining applicants, you choose by consensus the remaining members.
John, just to get even further technical then, so if a member of the town council chooses not to select someone, can we proceed forward
Yes.
even though we don't have a quorum?
You would have a quorum.
I guess my question is, so do one of these other at-large people then fill that spot?
No, they just, it counts towards the quorum. Quorum is a majority of those present at the time. So if, as long as there are, four, individuals attending any particular nuisance abatement board, it has a quorum and can meet and can take action.
If we just appoint 6 today, we can proceed forward then. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Thank you. That-
What the ordinance says, that each one of you has the right to pick one of the initial 5, and of the remaining applicants, pick the 2 at large. Whether or not one council member elects not to appoint an individual, that is the prerogative of that council member. But as long as there's 4 members available to meet at any given time, the nuisance abatement board would have a quorum and can meet.
I would just say a couple things anecdotally. I know 2 of the people that applied specifically applied because they just wanted to be public citizens and they wanted to make themselves available in case a member of the council didn't have someone to appoint, for their particular appointment. Second of all, and I don't want to speak for Jane Plummer, but Jane was one of those people, and I think I have to speak for Jane this morning, even though I haven't really talked to her about it, this recent development. I don't think she'd want to give up the LPA position to serve on the nuisance abatement board, particularly if we have 7 other candidates. She was just making herself available just for the public good. But at the time, she was not aware that she would not be able to serve on the LPA anymore. She served over a decade on the LPA and is a valuable member of the LPA. And I don't think, first of all, she didn't know that at the time. And second of all, I don't think she would want to give up that position to serve on the nuisance
And
abatement
I agree
board.
with what you're saying. I think Jane would not want to give up the LPA, knowing Jane, so that was one of the issues we have before us, I think.
Bill, do you have a member here on this list?
I have not recruited anybody. I think that's kind of the key word, because the term is appointment, not recruit.
Well, recruit isn't the word I would use, I guess approval, the same way that if you nominate someone for an office in an organization, you generally get their permission before you nominate them. I guess by applying, they in a way have given their permission for anyone to appoint them. I'm gonna make it that way. So I would guess that if you, 2 of you don't have an appointment, that you select someone off this list so we know who's left for us to vote on.
Is there someone on the list that you care about?
So like I think Jim said, there's some fine people on this list. I would probably go with Anita.
My choice, but that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. And
I've already.
you picked Trey,
Trey, you got it,
so Anita, Trey. The vice mayor has picked Jan. Councilman Adderhold, you said Dawn Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, that's 4. Nix Jane. Charles would be the attorney.
I think Monica's also an attorney.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Oh, well, I'd want another couple more selections, to be honest with you. Whether they can go ahead without me and choose these folks, I don't know. How does that work, John? We'd still have vacancies for appointed?
From my math, there's a commitment for 3 positions.
Or
4. And so, if you wish to, find someone, a particular individual, you can move on to selection of at large and come back at the next meeting and or provide the clerk with your appointment.
I'd like to go ahead and vote on the 2 remaining open spots that we have, and then select which attorney.
Agree with that as well.
Fine.
Well, I mean, it does seem like we're in the same spot. If you assume that Jane is not interested, then if the mayor selects somebody and we get the 2 open spots, and there's pretty much everyone on the list. There's really not much place.
I show that there's 3 people left for 2 spots.
Be 7 total, correct?
There's 2 that we vote on,
There's 2 at large.
Okay.
And
2 at large, and we have 3 possibilities for those 2
Correct.
positions.
If the mayor does not select somebody.
I might,
He's indicated he didn't want to today, but I was saying, let's go ahead and pick the 2 from the 3 that are there.
It'd be fine with me. But this is a discussion on the next step in the implementation. So we're moving towards the next step. Is there a motion?
I'd move that we proceed with an election of the 2 at-large members from the 3 remaining candidates, Charles, Monica, and Karen.
Second.
Any further discussion? Objection? Okay, that motion carries. Now we have an election. Want to do this by voice or by seats?
Whatever your preference is. Move on and then come back and do a quick ballot, if you want a written ballot.
I have no problem with doing it orally.
Is anybody else?
Whoever's most efficient.
Okay, well, if no one has an objection, we'll just do it orally. Okay? We're going to take nominations then.
We have 3. We're just voting.
Okay, all right, let's vote then on the members here. Okay,
I think the only proviso to that, just to be super technical, is that you'd have to, well, I guess not. We're bound to get an attorney, because 2 of the 3 are attorneys, so fair enough. I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay. We'll take them in order then. First, Charles Metter.
Vote for Charles.
I'll vote for Charles.
Vote for Charles.
Charles. Okay? Charles is on. Next one is Monica.
Vote for Monica.
I'll vote for Monica.
I'll vote for Monica.
Vote for Monica.
Vote for Monica.
Monica's unanimous.
We got our 2 of 3.
Well,
alternate.
but when's if Karen gets? We can't.
2 votes left.
Can't vote again, so I don't see how she could get elected, but I'm not a mathematician.
You have your 2 alternates. So mayor has reserved his right to appoint his candidate. So you have 6 members pending the mayor's 7th.
Okay.
We need to select from Charles or Monica, who is the chair.
That's correct.
Attorney. Attorney or the chair? Yep,
Mayor.
The
Chair.
chair.
okay.
But, it seems like Monica got the most votes.
Would support Monica.
2.
Okay, that's fine with me.
I would support that as well.
For today?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
What's the next step, John?
The next step would be pending the, give the benefit of the doubt or time to the mayor to provide his name. And then the clerk would send out a letter to each one of the new appointments indicating that they have in fact been appointed, and if, when they're available for potentially having an organizational meeting to go over their powers and duties, and as we do with all of our boards, inform them of such things as sunshine law and public records law and voting conflict issues. And then presumptively it's not meant in a negative way. They wait until there's an issue that requires their active involvement.
Well, John, how does it work if the mayor decides to select someone? Does that person then go in as an alternate, or do they,
It's his appointment.
would be, okay?
Okay, just for the benefit of the public, I have a few people in mind, but I'm open to anyone else who wants to send me a text or whatever. Email, whatever. Okay, we'll move on. Item G is the Arch location. These are the town council recommendations to Lee County of 2 locations for a scaled-down single arch replica of the original arches previously located on San Carlos Island. You want to give us a little update on this?
Thank you. Very, very similar to what we discussed at the M&P meeting, and I thank my colleagues for their support of this thus far. Today, we gave the public an opportunity to view these locations because this was in our packets and publicly noticed as part of the council meeting. They're the same 2 locations that we've been discussing for some time, close to the beach access, the northernmost beach access point at Lynn Hall Park, and closest to the northernmost beach access point at Bowditch Point Park. Both, of course, county parks. I've been working with Commissioner Sandelli, who's been wonderful to work with on this. He's interested in solving this problem as well from the county's perspective. And so really what we're doing today and what the county has asked of us, as well as the Restore the Arch folks, is that we give our support for a couple of locations to go forth to the county. The county then will discuss it, and they will actually, assuming they support this and select the final location, they will then codify it, and then they will actually put together a proposal and design and build it themselves. But it will be funded by the Restore the Arches group. Obviously, the funding would have to come first, but the county would be responsible for design and build, giving the county some piece about, from a liability standpoint, making sure it's structurally sound, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we're making progress here, and I think we could support these 2 locations today. We would convey that to the county commissioners via letter from our town manager on our behalfs. And again, very thankful to the county thus far for their cooperation and support of this effort. Thankful to the Restore the Beaches group who are supportive of both of these locations. Both have been in the local papers and discussed pretty extensively by the community. And I think we found a compromise location where the location is not so overt that it offends those who are opposed to the arches, and it's not so hidden that it diminishes those who support the arches, and it seems like it could be a careful and nice balance.
So the locations are?
2 locations are, as discussed. Sorry?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
As discussed, it's a single arch, again, just one of these arches behind us. It's a single arch design, and it would be at the northernmost point of Lynn Hall Park, northernmost beach access point, roughly. And the same would be true, the northernmost beach access point of Bowditch Point Park. So Lynn Hall Park, Bowditch Point Park, and that's what we're affirming today.
Motion?
I don't know. I don't really think so, but. No, I mean,
I don't know that it would need a motion, but if
I
that
mean, all
might be
they're
nice to
asking,
formalize it.
all they're asking for is our opinion, really. Frankly, I wish Lee County was more interested in our opinion on Big Carlos Pass than the arches up here, but that's my own opinion. But anyhow, not to diminish your work, Jim, I appreciate what you've done there. And if someone wants to make a motion to those recommendations, feel
I'd
free.
move that we recommend that we're in favor of these 2 locations, but are open to other possibilities should they find these 2 not appropriate.
Second that.
Can I just clarify one thing, Mr. Mayor? Typically, I would converse or write to the county manager, and the mayor would write or converse with the elected officials. So if you want the letter to go to Commissioner Sandell, it'd be appropriate for the mayor to sign on behalf of the council. If it's something you want me to communicate to the county manager with a copy to the commissioner, then I would be signing that letter. Whatever you
Both.
prefer. Well, I think it's overkill, but we could do both.
Both?
But if we send it to Commissioner Sandelli, and quite frankly, it'd be nice to send it to all the commissioners and then to keep them informed of what's going on, or at least copy them and then copy the county manager as well. I think that's fine. Whatever people are comfortable with, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Jim. Okay, next item, final public comment. Anybody?
Have,
I
Folks, you-
think you've got another item.
No, I don't see anything else.
Oh, it's under council members' items. My apologies.
Okay, Vice Mayor. You're welcome to speak again, folks, if you want to come up and speak. Don't have to. Carol's moving. Carol's going to come up and speak again. Okay.
No, I believe that all this construction on Big Carlos Bridge is not to be done until after the road work. So that's sometime in 2021 to 2023, the construction. At the same time, is anybody looking at the overall picture that we'll be working on construction down at Margaritaville? And I also had heard rumors that some kind of work was going to be done on Matanzas Big Bridge. So if all those are true, is anybody looking, we're in construction fatigue. And that's how I see it. And like I said, I wish the county commissioners would look at what the people on the island, not only here, but in Bonita Springs, are saying. And we're basically saying we do not want this high bridge. It's basically for a few luxury yachts that want to get out 24/7. I mean, I've lived here for 32 years. There's never been a problem with boats getting out through the drawbridge. And I just hope the council could do some pushing, I guess, and get this resolved with the Lee County. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol. Anyone else? Seeing none? Move on. Town managers' items.
Mr. Mayor, and members of council, I just have one item to bring to your attention. County advised me that they were going to work on a program for a utility assistance for persons who are finding themselves financially challenged due to COVID-19 and the impact on businesses and families. They were sort of querying whether or not we would like to attempt to run our own program or allow them to run the program on our behalf. I will tell you that this program operates generally through FEMA type assistance, and I don't know that the administrative fee would cover our expenses if we were to try to run the program. Of course, our potential pro rata share, the amount of money would be so small. Unless you feel strongly that you want us to attempt to run our own program, I would suggest that we allow the county to run it on our behalf, and they will have the economy of scales to be able to do that. But I did want to let you know that this was coming down the pike, give you a chance to think about it, and if you have strong feelings about it, we can schedule a discussion or add it on to Thursday's agenda.
Okay. Else?
Sir.
Question for
Yes, sir.
Roger. Roger, was curious, the council has received numerous pieces of correspondence from a prominent business on the island trying to solve the lighting issue for rental property on the beach, and they're suggesting a tinted glass solution. And I was just curious if you could give us an update as in terms of the consideration of that request.
Yes, it's my understanding there's a follow-up phone call being scheduled today or tomorrow. There was an attempted call on Friday, I believe. Not all the parties were on the phone. I believe our environmental an employee got stuck with a manatee issue by Kunke, but it's a follow-up conversation that's gonna happen today, tomorrow, and basically, position that staff is taking is if we get unequivocal approval from FWC for a particular product, then of course, that if it was installed correctly in conformity with the manufacturer's instructions on how to install the product, that's installed correctly, then of course, we would accept it. We need it in an unequivocal form from FWC. And we're gonna have this phone call with them and see if we can't find out if they're ready to make that step.
Just to add to that, it's looking into this, it's my understanding that the FWC is probably never going to say it's okay with them. Where would that leave us after this call? Will we still be at a place where homeowners have no solution
Well,
to?
then the alternative would be for the council to take a position that it would be allowed on Fort Myers Beach, which would put you in conflict with the state and potentially with the turtle folks, but you could take that position if you wished.
Do you know, Roger, has Turtle Time opined on this particular solution?
My understanding in dealing with them for the last umpteen years is it's turtles first, turtles second, turtles third, and turtles fourth. So anything that they think could lead to potential disorientation would not be something they would be in favor of.
But you're saying that they have opined
I
on this
don't-
particular
I don't-
solution?
I don't know that they've looked into this specifically, but we would be in discussion with them as well if this moves forward.
I think the part of the real trick with this is that it's not just coming up with a certain amount of opacity so that the interior lights are less affecting by the turtles, but it also just can't be any film. It can't be reflective at all, because if you're reflective, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose. You know, you don't need a light source, you're now creating a light source for the reflection. And I don't think that the products that are out there now are really designed necessarily with this in mind. So it's kind of a new use for an old tool, which makes it difficult. But I think that my understanding is that Chad and the industry people are working together to try to see if they can get some kind of approval for WC.
Just to follow up on what Council Beach is saying. So let's say it does block 100% of the interior light from coming out. Rising sun will hit that and reflect, and is what will create the disorientation.
The moon or.
The moon or any other light source that's on the, going by on the outside of the property.
I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just trying to get them a solution or get them an answer, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think that FWC is proceeding with caution because they know once they theoretically would give an approval, it would be very difficult for them to say, whoops, we made a mistake and backtrack. I think they're proceeding slowly and with caution. And obviously, the advocate on the island would like to get this resolved as soon as possible so they could potentially implement it before the next turtle season. So that's sort of the time constraint that everyone's trying to work under.
We go back, Roger, before we got to this topic, had asked for our input regarding a question from the county, and no one gave him any. Right?
That's correct, and I didn't want to force you necessarily into a decision today unless you're comfortable with it. We can add it on for discussion on Thursday.
Doesn't seem to be that complicated to me.
If
If the percentage of funding that would be available to us as a town would be so minuscule, it would seem to me that it would make sense for the county to run that program.
I agree with you.
Fine with me. Okay.
And on the turtle issue, it's brainstorming here. Is it possible that we could say as council to our staff, let's do a test program with this product, that the business who's inquiring could choose one location that they could put it on. We wouldn't cite them while we try it out for a season to see how it works.
I like that after they extinguish every other option. I mean, they might have success with this phone call, but if they don't, I like your suggestion.
Good idea. We could raise that suggestion in the call, that if nothing else, can we at least try it?
One of the reasons nobody wants to take a position is they don't know how it's going to work, and we don't know how it's going to work unless we try it. So
Yep.
if we could guarantee them, we wouldn't cite them at this one location while we tested.
I think you have a pretty good idea, but I mean, because when I put some windows up, they had to be 45% opaque. Now they're saying, which I thought was kind of silly because it still doesn't mean you can have your lights on inside. Now they're saying it's 85% opaque. But it's a help, it's not a solution. And if you did X number of windows, I don't know if you would really get any kind of enough statistical information to say whether or not that was effective.
Right, but on the other hand, it might really show that it doesn't work at all, and then we'd have the answer. At least we would have tried something. Idea. We could, like we said, hold that out as an alternative if the
We
conversation
can report
doesn't.
back on Thursday how the conversation went.
Okay. Town attorney.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mayor, members of the council. I recently, over the weekend, forwarded to each of you a copy of a opinion issued by the Fourth District Court of Appeal last week, wherein the appellate court found that the Palm Beach County mask mandate was in fact constitutional and not infringe upon individuals' civil liberties. I only mention that because at the next council meeting, we will be placing staff at your direction, at your request, a proposed emergency order number 8 that's going to clean up and centralize the prior emergency orders. And in some of those previous orders, the council had in fact instituted a mandatory mask requirement when people are out in public. And that same or similar type of language was at issue and challenged in the Fourth District Court case that was ruled upon last week. I also am aware that all of you received correspondence from one of the property owners or from the property owners who are involved in the special exception dune walkover dispute and their Burt Harris claim. The staff manager and myself, Mr. Green, are scheduled this afternoon to have a conversation with our outside counsel with regard to the settlement, the counter offer that was submitted by the property owners. And once we have an opportunity to evaluate and vet through that, we will be following up with each one of you individually as to potentially where we go from here in that regard. I know that also in that regard, some of you have asked me if communications from Mr. Rood are appropriate or legally permissible. Unfortunately, and upon your perspective, Florida, attorneys are prohibited from contacting parties that are represented by counsel, but the parties themselves don't have a similar prohibition. However, to the extent that any of you all who do not want to receive any of those future communications from Mr. Rood, I can certainly, as a courtesy, reach out to his attorney and suggest as strongly as I can that it would be preferable the communications be sent to my attention for then distribution to you all. That's a personal issue. Just let me know if you are one of those council members who would prefer not to receive those communications from directly from Mr. Rood. Other than that, I have nothing further unless you have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Just one question, if I could. John, I meant to ask you this last week. Had a constituent reach out to me about panhandling, particularly aggressive panhandling, and expressed some concerns. And I had asked you, and I'll ask you again publicly. I meant to give you a heads up for the meeting, but Fort Myers Beach, it's my understanding, has an ordinance against panhandling. Panhandling is therefore illegal on Fort Myers Beach. Is that true?
Yes, the aggressive panhandling that you mentioned, there are certain aspects of panhandling that the federal courts have determined to be constitutional, that there's a certain amount of free speech associated with that. What the courts have said is that if someone is aggressively accosting you, then that goes beyond exercising the First Amendment rights, and that is what our regulations currently prohibit.
Thank you. And my constituent, or our constituent suggested respectfully that if you are approached by an aggressive panhandler and you feel uncomfortable, you could just gently mention that, I'm so sorry, like to help you, but panhandling is illegal on Fort Myers Beach, and I don't want to participate in any illegal activity, and then walk away. He thought that would be a helpful suggestion. I told him I would mention it, so thanks for the colloquy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's it, John?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, council members' items and reports. I asked that the item A, the discussion on Big Carlos Pass Bridge, be added. So that's going to be under my items. So if you don't mind, we'll do your items first. There are the rest of my members here, fellow members, and we'll go from there. Councilman Allers.
Yeah, just kind of a brief thing, and I haven't had a chance to really discuss this with Roger before the meeting, but kind of getting a little concerned with some of the emails and the discussions I'm having with some of our constituents about the way that they feel they've been handled from within the building. Whether not making appointments or the way they've been talked to. I'd be remiss to not bring it up, at least publicly, so people could say that, or understand that I am listening and I do hear it, and I will bring it up. We all know that there's probably sides to every story, which there is, but it's concerning to me. It's not a vision that I see that I would personally like to portray. But I just want people to know that I am listening. I will have the conversation, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
I have nothing today.
James.
Anything additional? Thank you.
I have one thing. I was in discussion with some of the people from Sanibel about their fertilizer ordinance and how they handle it. They have a training and a certification program for fertilizer application for the commercial appliers. And I would just like kind of permission to task the Marine Research Task Force to look at what Sanibel is doing and maybe suggest to us if there's a way to reconcile it. Because I understand that it's really difficult for enforcement to try to figure out what someone is spraying. And my fear is that a lot of the landscape companies have no idea what the regulations are in Fort Myers Beach because they work a different territory, and this is just part of their territory.
I would support that.
Bill.
Anything else? That's it? Okay. Okay, I'm last. One item before the Big Carlos Pass Bridge. In regards to Mr. Rude's correspondence to us, I got that over the weekend like everybody else did, and while I was walking Boudreaux and Thibodeau, I do some of my best thinking when I'm with my boys there, and it occurred to me that we're not that far away with these people right now. I mean, it seems to be where both sides are digging in on this issue is the public access being granted through their property to the beach over this walkover. At this point, it doesn't look like there's going to be much movement in that area on either side. So, got thinking about it and as to how we might settle this, and of course, the whole reason, at least the way I look at this thing, the town is not granting the exception, and the people are digging in with the Audubon Society and so forth, is to restrict access to the critical wildlife area that's out there. I told this council some months ago that I had a discussion with Chief Counsel of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Justin Wolf, told me that if these people ever filed a suit to disband the critical wildlife area, that they have a real good shot at doing it because of problems that were encountered when this wildlife area was set up. That's not Ray Murphy saying that. That's taken from my conversations with the Chief Counsel of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Justin Wolf is his name. So the thought occurred to me that maybe a way to settle this. John, you
Mr.
can,
Mayor, with all due respect, I've been waiting for Mr. Herron to interject. I don't think it's appropriate that we have negotiation discussions in this forum.
you know
That's
what,
for an
you know
executive
what?
session.
No, you know what? No, it's not. And here, I have the floor now. I have the floor. This is my item. It's not for executive session, because we scheduled an executive session here one day, and we were told that you can't have an executive session because the item is not a suit. We're not in a lawsuit yet.
We are now.
We are not in now.
We are currently in a lawsuit with Mr. Rude, where he has alleged a violation of the ADA.
Separate item. Separate item.
Be argued. I think, but what I would respectfully suggest is, as I indicated, staff is going to have a call with our outside counsel this afternoon to discuss settlement proposal that's on the table, including the issue that you mentioned, Mayor, of their indication that they're not willing to give a public access easement versus the town's request that they provide one, and its impact upon the critical wildlife area and the status of the of that separate lawsuit, which we're not a party to. What I would respectfully suggest is allow staff the opportunity to have that meeting with and that communication with our outside counsel, and as well as direct me, and which I'm already going to take it upon myself to call the FDEP and determine what is their position with regard to the lawsuit, because I've not had any conversations with Mr. Wolf regarding what DEP's position is on the title action that's been filed against the state. So I think certainly to the mayor's point, it would be incumbent on us all to maybe gain a little bit more information about that and what the state's position is on that. Meet with each and every one of you, have those discussions individually, as the mayor has indicated. Can't have a shade meeting until, in the context of the Burt Harris claim, until the Burt Harris claim suit is actually filed. Unfortunately, the case law is clear that we can't have that meeting. At some point, if this council desires to settle the Burt Harris claim dispute before a lawsuit is formally filed, yes, we will have to have that conversation in public, in an open meeting, because we do not have the ability, do not have the benefit of taking advantage of the shade meeting, executive session, whichever way you want to call it, that statutory provision, because there's case law directly on point that says we can't. So if we do want to settle the case, or the council wants to consider settling the case, it will have to be, unfortunately, an open discussion at this point. And so that would be what I would request as your town attorney. Give us some time to talk with our outside counsel, talk with the DEP, share that information with you all individually, and then, if necessary, have a conversation about how to proceed at the next meeting.
Well, I'm going to respectfully decline, because I won't be silenced. You're going to speak with the outside attorney. I'm going to give you a suggestion what to tell him. I'll tell you why I'm going to suggest this. Because we've spent over $500,000 on this case already. Our exposure is another $1.5 million on the other side of this Burt Harris law. we're scrambling around trying to find money for Bay Oaks and all these other projects, and meanwhile, it's going out the window on something like this. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say right here. Now, the thought occurred to me, town attorney, is that for them, the town wants them to have public access through their property. They don't want that. Who could blame them? The town also purports, and through the Audubon and everybody else, that their desire is to protect the critical wildlife area. There's a chance, if the information is correct, that the critical wildlife area is going to go away. It's going to go away if they're successful in this quiet title suit. By all indications, per my conversations, again, I'll tell you that that's a distinct possibility. So my proposal for the outside attorney is to ask the other side if they're willing to drop the quiet title suit. They're willing to drop it. That would be my suggestion. Ask them.
Okay.
If they're willing to do that. Okay. Thereby, a possible resolution being found and end it. Okay, that's that. My last item is the Big Carlos Pass Bridge discussion. As you all know by now, I was there the other evening for the discussion at Bay Oaks regarding the Big Carlos Pass. It's been widely reported and over and over and over again that, all Murphy cares about down there are the fishermen. Well, I do care about the fishermen, but that's not the only reason that I'm against the high span. I would have said thus at the meeting had I been given more time, but of course I didn't have the time. My intention there was to get some more support for the lower span over Big Carlos Pass, which all the people on both sides of the bridge want, people throughout the community of Bonita Springs, the city of Bonita Springs, and also lots of people throughout the town of Fort Myers Beach. Most affected people. In my discussions last week with different members of the city of Bonita Springs, councilwoman whose district that is, Amy Coremba, had asked that if our council was interested in getting with them and sending a joint letter to the county commissioners, thereby saying that we're not interested in this high bridge. Somehow the word got back to them without calling me, that after our brief discussion about this at the MMP meeting, that there was no interest in this on behalf of the council, and thereby they dropped their interest. I said, well, that's not really the case because we really haven't discussed it yet. It was just mentioned briefly, and I told them that it was going to be discussed again today at today's meeting. Here we are. What came up the other night at this forum through the public comment again was that the cost analysis that the county has provided for this project, as you've read in your information, hopefully, is that their estimates of the cost savings between the 60-foot span and the 24-foot span is astronomical, while they're using a future value basis, and if it were to be done on a present value basis, it would be much more closer to the costs. There were also several other questions from the public there that evening about the numbers themselves, whether they're real or not. And enough doubt was created, not just at that meeting, but at prior meetings, that it's worth taking another look at. The question today is whether this council is interested in supporting the City of Bonita Springs Council in a joint letter saying that, endorsing what the residents here on Fort Myers Beach and also Bonita Springs, endorsing their preference of a smaller bridge, lower bridge. That's where we're at. And I told these people that I would bring it up. I received a letter from the mayor of Bonita Springs the other day on my phone saying that he's all for this. The councilman that spoke the other night and was there, this Councilman Perdon from Bonita Springs. He said that their support is unanimous down there. They didn't want to support a unanimous letter unless they had the support of the town council of Fort Myers Beach as well. So that's when I decided that maybe we should have this discussion today and see if there's any appetite here. As I discussed that night in my comments, again, it's hard for me when I go to things like that, whether I'm going as Ray Murphy, private citizen, or Ray Murphy, mayor. It's a fuzzy line, but my comments were directed. I prefaced the comments by saying that our relationship with Lee County is like family. You know, we have disagreements from time to time about certain issues, but we're still a family. You know, we still have each other and need each other and so forth. So it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree about one item and agree about another item, which we do with the county all the time. So today, in my mind, we're in disagreement, and I didn't just come lately to this. I testified before the county commission downtown Fort Myers in the commission chambers, and they had their last public hearing about this. And while Commissioner Kiker was still alive, voiced my opinion then. Of course, Commissioner Kiker was the lone wolf against the motion to move forward, the high span being our district representative down here. Other county commissioners, I really don't think could care less. It's just a numbers item with them. And when they look at these skewed numbers, I mean, why wouldn't they? You know, if the difference is $60 million, why wouldn't they say? You know, I see Brian Hammond's comments all the time. You know, if they want to get an extra 60 million and give it to me, why we can do the bridge their way, which is kind of a silly comment. But anyhow, we're at this point today. So I'm here to ask the council if you want to support the folks down on the south end, the folks across the bridge, the other folks in Bonita Springs, the other folks here in Fort Myers Beach. Preference would be a lower bridge, and want to support the city of Bonita Springs in a joint communique from the two councils. Comments?
Well, I'll start, I guess. I was there tonight as well, and chose not to speak. I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say. I was able to speak to several people from the county about the bridge, how they got there, the numbers. It's my personal interpretation that, for lack of better terms, that ship has sailed as far as whether or not that's going to be a 60-foot bridge or not. It's just my interpretation of the conversations I had. So I understand the willingness, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe our council, previous council and previous Bonita councils have sent that letter that you're talking about, Mayor, to the county. And whether it fell on deaf ears or not, I can't speak for the county, but there was an attempt to send that. I'm trying to look at it from both sides. I understand the costs, whether the numbers are skewed or not. I'm trying to look at it from a public safety situation, getting people on and off the island should there be an emergency. Based on, you know, I'll follow the will of the council. If the majority of the council feels that it's going to make a difference, I will certainly assist in that. However, I don't feel in my conversations that I had that we're going to make any effect in their minds. Maybe if we could put something together that, they did say, I don't know if people know, that they did listen some and they shifted the bridge 300 feet further to the south to try to lower the height of where the bridge was going to start on the island and where it's going to end on Lover's Key side. They did do some things, but I really don't, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think there's any willingness to move off of that. I'll certainly put my name to it if you think it will help. I just fear, and I just want to be realistic with the people that I personally don't feel that it's going to make a difference. I think we can continue to give them our input as far as things that we'd like to see, potentially the old bridge being used as a fishing pier, part of it, like they did on our Matanzas Pass Bridge. Try to control the controllables that we can control. But I could be 100% wrong. I could be just misreading the people that I spoke to, and this letter could make a difference. But I know that they're seriously looking at, as the mayor said, seriously looking at the cost analysis of it, and whether or not that's their focal or their main reason of making that decision. It's a tough one to make from their seat based on the numbers that I saw. So I won't ramble on any longer. I just wanted everybody to understand where I'm coming from, and give you my input as to where I think their decision is in their minds already.
Thank you. Just to comment on yours, prior town council here did send a unanimous letter to the county commission in opposition of the big bridge. The thrust today would be a joint letter between the two councils. I think that would, as you say, Dan, I mean, who knows whether it has an impact or not, but it certainly would have to, you'd have to take a hard look at a joint letter coming from two councils. You'd have to give that some consideration. The comments?
I was also there. I didn't stay for the public comment, but I talked to the engineers and I talked to some of the concerned residents there. I am going to concur with Dan as far as I just think the ship has sailed. I think that a previous commission had voted strongly in favor of this. It is a county road. I'm concerned that with very little chance of any kind of success, they were just creating needless adversarial relationship with the county that's already decided on this. Also, in my conversation with one of the residents, he was pretty happy with the design that they put forward, because they bent over backwards to accommodate people on the, I guess, be more the east side of Fort Myers, on the Fort Myers Beach side of the bridge. Looking at the designs very carefully, the profile of this bridge and the near shore to Fort Myers doesn't really change much from the old bridge. The fact that they shifted it so far towards the Lover's Key side and put the peak further away, they've really bent over backwards to try to minimize the effect on the Fort Myers Beach side for this bridge. And there are. I also have a friend who is a good friend of mine, who is a retired civil engineer who deals with bridges. He had a cursory look at the numbers, and he said he thought that they were realistic the way they calculated the numbers, without getting into deep. He's not certifying his results, that kind of stuff. And there's also some other very tangible benefits of having a taller bridge. Safety is a number one. There'll be a much bigger sidewalk. There'll be room for bicycles. It's a much wider bridge as well. So given that, I just don't think there's much of a chance of changing the minds on this. I just don't see a whole lot of benefit for going up against the county commissioners when they've already decided some years ago.
Well, I was not personally there, but I did watch it live on the internet. And Mayor, you had every right to make the comments you did, and I respected your comments. The one thing I learned coming new to this issue from the Lee County presentation, Councilor Veach alluded to it, is, and I guess the one thing I would be concerned about, and I'd have to see the text of the letter, I think the option of repairing the existing bridge for 20 more years, I don't think I could support that option. I saw the presentation, and the existing bridge, if you ever try to walk across the bridge or ride your bike across the bridge, it's quite a feat, and a difficult feat at that, to navigate between the fishermen and their equipment if you're walking, and if you're riding your bike over the bridge, you're taking your life in your own hands, because there is no bike lane. Existing bridge has 3 feet sidewalks on both sides. The new proposed bridge has 6 feet sidewalk on one side and 10 feet sidewalk on the other side. And that to me is very intriguing from a public safety standpoint, we've got all these beautiful new sidewalks on the south end. And if we're going to get to Lover's Cave, it would make it so much easier. Now, Mr. Mayor, if you're arguing, have a lower bridge with all those amenities, I could be open to that.
Which I did the other night.
That's what I'm trying to understand. That's
Yes.
why the nuance is important, because trying to repair the existing bridge with the current sidewalks set up and bike lanes set up, me is not a good option. There's also the fiscal piece, but if the discussion is more on having a lower bridge with those amenities, I could certainly look at that.
And that's what I did bring up. I mean, the problem that we're faced with today is that it started off as four choices. The high bridge, a lower bridge at 40 feet, a drawbridge at 20 feet, and the no build or repair of the present bridge. Somewhere along the line, the two lower bridges were eliminated. Discussion, that was it. So the choices are stark now. You know, it's either this high bridge, which will forever alter the character of Big Carlos Pass, or low bridge. Of course, when they present the new bridge with all the bells and whistles on it, you know, everybody's going to say, well, yeah, let's have that. Let's have that. But my point the other night is that we can have all the bells and whistles with the lower bridge and not alter the looks of Big Carlos Pass forever, mind you, forever. So that was my point. I mean, where did these go? Where did they go? Why were they eliminated? You know, and of course they're going to say because of the costs. You know, and they don't want the old bascule bridges anymore. You know, the drawbridges and so forth and so on. And another option that was never even presented was a fixed lower bridge. That was never even discussed. Primarily because they want to get these big boats through here. We've already got a high bridge. It's called New Pass. You can go right down to New Pass, you know, and go out through there. Dredge New Pass the way it should be dredged, and you can get big boats through there. So anyhow, but so that's just my opinion, and thank you, Jim, for your consideration of that anyhow, and we'll go from there. Vice Mayor, do you have any comments?
Yes. My understanding that because it's part of the intercoastal waterway, that it has to be accessible to higher boats, for one. Number two, enough has been said about this that I'm not going to repeat things. I'm not in favor of a joint effort with the city of Bonita Springs.
Susan?
I have spoken with people who indicate that from a fiscally conservative standpoint, that they think it's an appropriate use of those funds.
Well, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here today. I mean, if we don't have the support, we don't have the support, and I'll make the necessary calls to Bonita. But, I just want to say for the other folks, that really the fight isn't over until they start hauling the stuff in, as far as I'm concerned. And so keep up your opposition if you're so inclined, and you'll always have me to support you for that. Okay. I'll do it for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second? We're adjourned at 10:25.